A very good morning to everyone, especially the guests, Honorable Minister, the President of the STU, the One Youth President, and very esteemed guest speakers who are there here from many countries. Warm greetings and namaste to every one of you. Namaste has become quite popular after COVID. I think that's one transformative event. We don't shake hands, we don't hug each other, we say a namaste from far. Very safe, time tested and proven, and substantiated by the COVID protocols now. So, namaste. But a simple gesture like namaste says a lot. When we put both the hands together in India, we believe we have 10 senses, 5 external and 5 internal. That's for another day. But all it means is that we put all our abilities, our knowledge, our energies, our ideas, everything together. More importantly, our ego together. And we bow down in front of the next person or the person whom we are greeting in namaste when we say, not me, but you. Not I, but you. That is what namaste means, not me. In the sense, you subdue your ego and you appreciate the person who is in front of you. And that's the gesture of namaste. It's far deeper than, far spiritual than what it appears to be. So COVID has done a lot of good things, as the minister was telling us. It has shown the cracks in the system. It's shown the gaps in the system which have to be filled with collective, collaborative effort of parents, teachers, and students. And thanks to the minister, he put it so succinctly when he said the very structure of the meetings between parents and teachers and pupils have changed over decades. 3 decades ago, it was just a parents' meet and you had one-sided lectures going on. And then it became parents and teachers' meet where there was some kind of a discussion going on. And now it has parents, teachers, and pupils meet where pupils have most of the work to do, I think. And we have been running educational institutions for the last 5 decades. I wasn't born when the institution started. I took over only recently, a decade ago. But a lot of changes happened after COVID. So pre-COVID education and post-COVID education is totally different. There are 2 different worlds. So this is what I was wanting to share with you. Leaving the theory and the philosophy for another time, largely what changes we had to make in our educational system to bring these 3 units, the teachers, the students, and the parents together to make education more effective. In India, from the ancient times, as you know, it's a very, very ancient country. We do not even know how old it is because somehow Indians are notoriously known for not documenting history. And that works to our disadvantage even till date. So we are lazy people when it comes to history and documentation, unlike the Western world. So nevertheless, tentatively 10,000 years old. So we had this system called gurukula education system. Gurukula literally means guru is the teacher, and kula is the lineage of the guru or the place of the guru. So in India, essentially all the students were to be deposited into the gurukulas from the day one. So they were 7 or 8 years old and they were all transferred, like after COVID, parents thanked the gurus. That's what the teachers were saying. Mr. Gavin was saying, the parents literally bowed down to them saying that now we appreciate what you do for us by keeping our children at your school. Because through the COVID, you can imagine husbands and wives couldn't face each other and talk about children who do not even understand the whole thing. So gurukulas were very time-tested systems where parents would transfer the students to the teacher, the guru, and the students will stay there for as long as 12 to 20 years with the gurus, and they will never return home for this period, and only at the end of it, teachers would give the students back after the graduation to the parents, and at the end of this whole education, the parents will come to receive their children back as graduates, and at that point in time, the parents would offer some support to the Gurukulam, because in India, education was always free. It was never commoditized, unlike the modern times where even in India, the private schools are extremely exorbitantly expensive for all the parents. So this was the old system, and we tried to kind of revitalize or bring back that old system in our schools. So in our schools, we do not charge any fee. So that puts parents at great ease. Because education, we believe, it should not be commercialized. Because the moment it becomes a commodity, teachers become service providers, then parents become customers, and education becomes commodity, the whole equation is imbalanced. To us, good teachers plus good parents plus good students is equal to good nation. So even if one part of it is missing, your good nation building is not going to happen. So we try to put parents at ease by saying we do not charge you anything for the education that we give to your child, but you must be socially responsible. So we try to bring in parents into the system by creating a 15 days voluntary service program at our institutions, where the parents must participate in some activity of the institution and not just be observers or sitting at the fence on the fence watching what's going on inside. So they have to be involved, they have to be engaged much beyond just discussion about how the student is doing in our institutions. They must come, they must spend a certain number of hours every year in order to feel the place, in order to connect with the teachers, in order to understand what is going on. In the modern times, as you must have observed, that most of the parents, Singapore is an exception, Singapore is an exception in everything. So I do not even take it as a world model, because the world is far more diverse and far more complicated, and Singapore has been managed so well thanks to the founder who has built such a culture over here. And every time we come, we truly appreciate, dear Minister, about how Singapore is managed so well. There is such good citizenship over here, and everything is managed so well by the government as well as the participation of the community. But India being a very diverse place, just to give you an example, in India we have 250 million school children, and compare it with a place like Singapore or even Australia. We have 9.7 million school teachers. That's for the STU to understand what it means. And we have 1.5 million schools. So that is the size which we are talking about. There are 28 states and 7 union territories, and every one of them have their own language. And the medium of instruction is different state to state. So when such a complex system is there, how to make it efficient, how to make the learning happen at all times, you have to bring all stakeholders together. The policymakers, the teachers, that is the school management, the parents most importantly, and the students, of course, who are the core of the whole system. So unless we bring all the stakeholders together, it's not possible to create an environment where children can learn seamlessly. And teaching is one part of the story. Learning is the actual part. As you know, the education comes from a Latin word which says it's to guide, or one part is to instruct, but the more important part is to guide. So you just guide, you facilitate the children in an environment of learning, where they can go on learning at their pace. You see, you can't hurry them up, you can't have a straitjacket approach to children. COVID has taught us that, but a lot of children could not learn at the same pace for various reasons, and one reason was because many of their parents were not equally educated or informed. So that was the handicap, when parents could not help the children at home with their assignments or homeworks or whatever was given, because they themselves were not educated. So a large part of the world has parents who are not educated. But still, we can involve them with the education process by inviting them to participate in the process, not just at home. If it's non-residential or a day scholar kind of a school, yes, at home. But even in residential schools, we can invite them and make them a part of the entire system, so they understand what the teachers are going through. And teachers, in the last 3 decades, at least in India and many such developing countries, teachers have not been given their due. They have not been looked after very well, and teaching profession has not got enough respect, especially in the wake of IT services and many other such new age professions. Teachers haven't got their due, and that is the reason why a lot of people quit teaching. And this is the reason why today we are having a crisis. This teacher-pupil ratio is beyond 1:50 in India. Ideally, it should be 1:25 or something like that, or even lesser. But that is the crisis of not having enough teachers in the world. So you as STU, I'm truly excited to meet all of you, because you have chosen a profession which many times is a thankless job. Many people do not even understand and appreciate what kind of sacrifices you must make to be a teacher. But in India, teachers were always called as gurus, and gurus were equated with gods. So Acharya Devo Bhava is an Indian saying, which means teachers are equal to God, because they teach you how to live a good life. And education has 2 parts. One is for a living, and another is for life. As Aristotle said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So educating the mind part is happening very well in most of the institutions of the world. Very good technology, new curriculum, good pedagogies, very good assessment system, and a lot of new things have happened. But the educating the heart portion is not happening as well. Making them better human beings is not happening. And that's our effort in our institutions to how to make children better human beings. And human beings mean there are certain human values that they must learn. And these values are not learned by teaching them through technology or by giving them a lecture on the values. These are to be learned by when children see these being practiced in their homes, in their schools, in their communities. So the involvement of parents is important because whatever children learn at school, we teach them a lot of values. If they go home and they don't see those values being practiced at home, then they are confused. And they become hypocrites. They're not good citizens in the future. They know how to manage the system then. So to make sure the parents get involved into the education process is very, very crucial for this century. Gone are the days when parents could give the children to the gurukulas and never come back for next 10 years or 12 years. Gone are the days when you could have a discussion with teacher and parent without involving the pupil. Now, pupil is a part of the system, but more importantly, parents are to be part of the system. I have noticed, and I just tell you a short story. A couple came to me saying that they're working so hard to pay for the education fee for their children that they have no time for their children. They only meet their children on the weekends. Because by the time they wake up and go to the office, children have already gone to the school, and by the time they come, children have already slept. So it's only in the Saturdays or the weekends they meet their children. This is the way they live. I said, why do you work so hard? What is the necessity? He said, no, the school fees is so exorbitant. We have to pay for all these. We have to pay our expenses. So both of us have to work. 2 incomes are required. I said, all right, so what do you tell your children when you don't see them and they complain? They say, we work for you, dear child. We are working so that your future is better. We pay for your school fee and all that. Then I said, okay, in that case, be ready for a future when the child is going to be a good professional and he will earn a lot, he will work hard, and he will put you in an old age home and say, Mom, I can't see you this weekend because I'm working for you and I'm paying for your old folks' home. And if that is the future you parents want to create, then this is the way you must run the system. And that made them think twice about what they were doing. So the idea is that unless parents realize the importance of participative education, collaborative education, and not just outsourcing it as a service to the school teachers, it is not a service that can be outsourced to somebody else. It is your primary job as parents. So this is why I'm going on insisting that as teachers, please encourage parents to be a little more participative in this process of education. You can't have them come at the end of the year and ask them how many marks my child has scored and why he scored less or more. That cannot be the discussion or debate at the end of the education. The education is a participative process and every child is different. And when we talk of child rights, parents must realize that it is the right of the child to choose what he or she wants to study. It's not something that you tell them that this is what you're going to do because this is what is going to earn you better. Today the world has changed, many more professions have emerged, many new areas have come up. And so to encourage the child to pursue his passion is the primary goal of education, to bring out what already lies within the child. That's the process of education. And to teachers, the parents, of course the students, you must remember that you cannot work in silos. You have to work together. That's the only way that this education system can be made more efficient. And I'm very glad that in a country like Singapore, which is leading the world in many, many ways, showing the world how it is done, and it has a lot to contribute. And if we can set a few systems right, and we can make an ideal model for education, we can take this to the whole world. As I mentioned, India is a very diverse place, and there is no one straitjacket approach. But Singapore can evolve a model of education which can help us deliver this idea to the whole world and make it very efficient, not just create good professionals, but also very great human beings who are community-oriented, service-oriented. So that is the idea, and I'm glad that we will be able to collaborate with some of our speakers from Australia, and we are going to have a conference in India very soon, in a week's time. So I look forward to more discussion, more participation, and all the units of the society, all the governments must come together to make education better. And a child is not the citizen of a country. A child is a world citizen, according to me. And the responsibility to raise the child is not just of the parents or teachers, but of the whole society. So when a child is born, a world citizen is born. And whatever it does, it's going to make a difference to the world at large. And therefore, we are all stakeholders in every child's development. So considering this as the theme, and I am happy to address you all as a keynote speaker. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon, and we will work towards making education more accessible, more available, and more acceptable to the children at large. So thank you very much. Have a good day, and I look forward to the further discussions of the day. Namaste.